Can everyone hear me now? I'm seeing my levels okay on my streaming software, so I'm going to go ahead and go forward. Please let me know if you still can't hear. Actually, what I'll do... All right, awesome. So, all right, yeah, sorry about that. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm going to start over. Um, I apologize for that. I didn't realize the sound wasn't working, and I'll edit the saved version so we don't have to go through 10 minutes of me just lip syncing myself. So back to my daily page. This is just the what I kind of start with today and every day. I have daily mantras. I have habits I want to do, and I'm only showing this because this feeds into the weekly review that we're gonna. I was showing. So I have tasks. My task list. These are just a list of different things I want to do for the day, and those get captured in the weekly review. So these are overdue tasks, and all this stuff for work and my personal life. So what I do with my weekly review and my weekly planning is first I will do a weekly review, which I just have the screen up. I'll go back to that in a second. And that just collects everything that I marked done and that was dated from the previous week. I answer some questions, and that's a very personal thing. So those questions will change over time. Some of the questions I use may not work for you, and that's great. Some of the questions I have right now don't work for me, and I'm going to be changing those. So, and those things change over time. As you change, as you find different things that you find value in or you get value out of for your review, those questions are going to change, and that's okay. The main thing is to have a system that at that time is a low friction way of you kind of analyzing your week and improving on what you've done in the past. So in my weekly plan template, this is my old weekly plan for this past week. I'll go through these, this whole structure later, but these show priorities and things like that. But first, we'll do the weekly review. So part of this template has a link already to the weekly review. And I've created it. This is work stuff. So a lot of the stuff is blacked out because it has to do with work, and I don't need to necessarily share it. There's nothing sensitive there, but this collects everything that I've marked done. So I scheduled this live roaming session. I did a poll, and weekly planning barely won out over evergreen notes. So the next one will definitely be evergreen notes. So this has everything that was done. And you can see I have my daily habits here, so I can kind of look at all the daily habits I did and which day. This isn't as useful just because there isn't a really good order to them. And that just has to do with how queries are done in Roam right now. Hopefully in the future we can do some advanced sorting and things like that. That would be really helpful. My daily habits also go into an attributes table from the daily notes. So there's that to analyze, but that also has issues with sorting if you're using just vanilla Roam. I think David Vargas released an extension that does bring sorting to attributes table. If you want to use those, use that. So yeah, I did some major work. So I've been working on this article about Roam as a platform for communities. And so I finished a section of it. You can see I did it on Wednesday a little bit, and there's another day. Yeah, here, I think these are both. What's showing up here is one that I did some work on the draft, but I didn't finish it. That's why that inner checkbox isn't there. And then I finished this one section within drafting. So that's why those are both showing up. And this is more work stuff. And that's Christmas stuff. So yeah, as you can see, I use Roam for everything. So the big thing is really the review questions. And you're going to see kind of an example of me not even using all my questions. So did I reach my goal for number of hours spent on deep work this week? I don't track that. My deep work is like, I spend 8 to 10 hours at work, usually in deep work because we're a small company and I have to focus on building stuff. So it's not like a very useful metric for me. So this will be changing in my own personal template. And these kind of questions that come out of that don't really matter. And some of these came from the Todoist blog. Some of these came from other articles. I don't even remember at this point because it's kind of an old template I've been using for a while. How many high impact items is one that I do find useful and that I have changed a little bit over time. So originally the question was how many high impact items on my to-do list was I able to do today or this week. I changed that because I wanted it to be a little more precise to help guide my thinking. So a lot of my philosophy with these systems is to set up the guardrails so that I don't go off track or I don't spend too much time trying to think through what I'm actually trying to answer or trying to do. And I think that's really important for someone like me who kind of it's really easy for me to go off track. Sometimes that can be a superpower. A lot of times it makes things more difficult, makes things take longer. And so I have to have these systems that have some kind of guardrail. And something like this helps in making these questions pretty precise, helps you do that. And so how many high impact items was I able to complete close out? Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, because it's more of a relaxation vacation week because of the holidays, I finished out completely nothing. So if I finished the full draft for that article that I showed earlier, then that would have counted as one. If I completely closed out that article, so that's drafting, publishing, promoting, all of that, then that would count as one. So it's not really uncommon to have 0 or 1 for the week. That's okay. And this is kind of me sussing out this idea of radical hyperfocus that I've been kind of working on, and we'll see that in the planning more. But the idea with that is to drastically reduce the number of commitments I take on during the week so that I can actually get things done. And then I either continue doing those until they're fully done or I drop them completely. There's some wiggle room there for like hiatus for things that I think I might want to come back to, but that's basically a done state as well. So what do I want to accomplish in the week ahead? And this is kind of a thing to meditate on and to kind of start your thinking for the next week's planning. So you'll really think about those priorities in more depth when you do your weekly planning. And that's what you'll see when we get to the new weekly plan. But for this week ahead, just to brainstorm a few things, I want to write and finish a new Roam video. So let's say, and I'll just link to my video ideas page. And so this article I'm really interested in finishing up and publishing. It's something that's a part of a larger project that I think will be really interesting and useful for people. I've gotten feedback from people that are really interested in this, and this is kind of a mental framework of how to use Roam in a multiplayer way to achieve certain goals. Adjustments. What adjustments do I need to make? So I use this as like a week-to-week comparison. So this week is kind of a weird week because of the holidays and my kind of focus on trying to spend a little time with family, mostly my wife because quarantine, but of kind of unplugging a little bit this week. And that's kind of important for me to do kind of a refresh and recharge, or else I'll just go, and eventually I'll get burnt out. So for me, it's important to recognize when I'm kind of hitting that limit and to pull back a little bit. And I'm sure that's important for everyone, and how you figure that out is really personal and kind of up to you on noticing those signs of burnout. They can be physical, they can be mental, they can be like sleep patterns. There's a lot of different things. So I don't think I need to make too many adjustments. Maybe I can play a few video games. That's like my main unwinding activity lately, especially because it's winter. This post-review retrospective, I'm not gonna do this. These questions are a little too broad for me, so it's really hard for me to really get much value out of here. Because what I would do, like normal me would do, is I would go through and kind of overthink these and try to figure out what do they mean. What do I mean by what went well? What is the constraint here? Because what went well is very broad. So one thing I need to do at some point is kind of go through and think about these questions a little bit better. And this is kind of like a retrospective of the review itself. So I guess I could say what went well. I thought through, and sorry about the loud keyboard. Let's see, let's go up here. I thought through these questions and have ideas for making them more specific. What could be adjusted? My review questions. See blank ones. And stop and start. I don't think there's anything really there, but these are semi-useful, as you can see, but I need to spend some time and go through and kind of revamp my weekly review. I've been letting it, because these questions have been too broad for me and not really useful, I've actually been pulling back on my review depth. So I need to kind of rejigger this whole thing. Okay, so review's done. Let's go and let's start planning the new week. So what I'll do is I open up the weekly plan in the sidebar, and let's close this guy. And so I use the same format. So weekly plan, 12, as you can see all of my plans, 12/28, because it will start tomorrow. New page, okay. And then this is also an Alfred workflow because it requires some date math. And I think I used, oh, there we go, perfect. So we have the week attribute, December 28th. We already have a link to the new review. This page is to reference, I think I got this from Nat Eliason. This is just a list of all of the different pages that have my projects, video ideas. I mean, you can see here, right? Article ideas, research topics that could help me guide my priorities for the coming week. And then I created this top priorities header. And this is back to my radical hyperfocus idea. So I've been for the last few months, and kind of my personality in general, stretched myself way too thin. And so I'm trying to rein that in a little bit so that I can actually get projects done, close them out, see things through to their finish, and not feel overwhelmed by all the things that I have to, in quotes, have to do. So the way I've been paring it down over the last few weeks is one article or one video, one project. And so a project I define as a more engineering focused thing, so creating some software or something like that, and 1 to 2 books and or courses from these pages to reference. The individual tasks will come out in these daily goals below. So this is just kind of a bunch of links, and you can see in my weekly plan for the week, these were my top priorities. And this is a Real Python article update. This I didn't count against my limit just because it relies on some external factors. So I may not actually have anything to do. And in fact, this week I didn't really have anything to do with this because I'm waiting on review and things like that. Working on my article, Roam as a Platform for Community, that's going to continue. I didn't have a video, but I do want to do a video this week. So I'm going to add that for my priorities. These projects, Roam CMS and backend for our site, advent of code. This has gone on hiatus because it's the end of December, and I got I was doing this to learn Elixir, which is a functional programming language. I got a new book that I think will help me go back to it. So this Advent of Code is going on hiatus because I'll be using this when I want to just do some brain teasers here and there to kind of cement my understanding of Elixir. And so this is kind of this is why this is on hiatus and not done. And I'm reading The Pragmatic Programmer. I'm going through taking tons of notes, and I'll be publishing those notes on my public Roam database soon. And so these are kind of my main priorities. With book, I'm being a little, I'm cheating a little, especially now because I got a ton of books for Christmas. So I may be dabbling in other books here and there, but my main focus will still be The Pragmatic Programmer. So what I'll do is I'll recreate this structure. And I'm watching the chat, so just let me know if there are any questions or anything else that you want to know about. Sorry, my Roam has been very slow lately for me, and so everything renders really weird. And I don't know if it's just my database has grown really large or what. Okay, so article, I'm going to just bring over... So I'm not going to add the face recognition Python article to this yet because I don't know when the next time I'll have to actually do anything with it. But video, I do want to do a video, so let's open up my video ideas. So I have all of these in waiting. I have task management in Roam, my mind first impressions, my idea factory, weekly planning, and templates. So I think I want to do the weekly factory. Hey guys, yeah, hiatus. So that project of working on Advent of Code, I'm putting it on pause so that I can come back to it later. It's not anything that's really time sensitive, and I have other things that have gained in priority since I started working on this. So I've been working on that since the beginning. I haven't gotten too far into it because it's really slow going. I'm learning a new programming language, but instead of marking it done, I'm putting it on hiatus because I can return to it when I want to do some more practice with this language. Because learning Elixir is a priority for me in the coming year. Actually, I got a book that I kind of want to go into. I ran up on a roadblock in one of the problems and realized that I need to kind of go back and build up my knowledge in the programming language before I can come back and start attacking more problems with it. So I'm kind of reprioritizing things so that I can come back to this project later. And it's something that the Advent of Code problems don't really go away. So they'll be there for me to go and pick back up whenever I want to. And them being in the hiatus status will let me go back and check on it and remember that it's there without actually explicitly marking it done, but it's similar to a done state. Okay, so going back to the video that I want to work on, I'm thinking the Roam Idea Factory, that was one of the first live streams that I did, and it went really long, like the live streams tend to do. And so what I think I'm going to do is I want to condense that down into a video. And this will also be condensed down to a video at some point as well, but it just takes me a lot of time to do because it's on my very rare free time. So we'll see how long that takes. But with this new kind of radical hyper-focus thing that I'm working on, I'm going to keep on at it. It's not going to really, it's very rare that I'll stop in the middle of doing this and like pick up another video or something like that. What I'll do instead is I'll just keep working on it until it's completely finished and published. Hopefully I can do it all. I'd like to do it all this week, but we'll see. So I'll do Roam Idea Factory. And so I'm just making links to my priorities here. And what that will do is it will help me go into each one and figure out how to take the individual tasks and turn them into actual to-dos for the week. And they get block references for the day that I work on them. So project, let's see, what projects? I think I'm going to just continue on the Roam CMS and backend for site. That's going a little slower, but I think with putting advent of code on hiatus, that should be fine. And then book. The slow rendering is killing me. Pragmatic programmer. So, like I said earlier, I may break a rule by also working on my Learn Functional Programming with Elixir book. That's a pretty thin book and easy read. The Pragmatic Programmer, I'm getting a lot more out of it. That's more actionable and turning into a lot of notes, literature notes, and eventually evergreens. And like I said, those will be shared on my public database so that once I go through all of them, you'll have a lot of that content, minus the highlights, just so I don't get like sued for copyright infringement or something. So that's pretty much it. And so I'll set the next step is to set daily goals. And these are the tasks within each of these projects that I want to accomplish over the week. And I kind of have to think about what days I'm working, what days I have other things planned, but that's this is flexible enough to shuffle it around. So if you look over here at my daily goals, like things have moved around. I'm going to delete this. Actually, I can do this right now. I delete things that aren't finished in the week, or I carry them over. Because this is going on hiatus, it's going to be deleted. Of course, the weekly plan back up. Okay, so let's go back through this. Like I said, some of these things are going to carry over. So Roam as a platform for community, I already have probably enough tasks for the week. Same with Roam CMS and backend for site. And then the video I won't have yet. So we'll go into that actual, I believe I have the layout already done. If not, it's a very quick thing, and I'll do that planning. And Pragmatic Programmer, I don't actually have to do anything for this as far as daily tasks. So I have a daily habit for reading, and that will be a part of that. So before we make the main goals, this is kind of a good segue, jump into daily habits. I have this daily habits page link, and these basically are the things I want to do each day, and they're not fully daily. The public database, I'll put a link in the description once this is done, but you can find it on Gumroad. I think it's just gumroad.com/Kyle Stratus. Let's do a quick look. Yep, gumroad.com/Kyle Stratus. It's $10 for full lifetime access, so it's public-ish. I put evergreen notes in there, recipes, book notes, anything and everything that I think people will be interested in on there. So you can check that out. I also have my Roam to Readwise export, or my Readwise to Roam export template there for free. And I think there is one other item. I think there are some other templates that I have there. So real quick, we can jump in and yeah, the Roam Idea Factory page export. So that whole system is available. Also, I think that's $5. Yeah, so if you want to check that out, that's all there. The exports templates is also available in the Digital Garden, so you don't have to get both. So yeah, you can see a lot of my templates are in there. I have the Alfred ones are available on my GitHub page, github.com/Kyle Stratus. If you use Alfred, there's also the source code for all the date math and stuff that the workflows use. So if you don't use Alfred but want to use that code in another text expander, you could do that, or you can translate it to whatever language your text expander of choice uses. So yeah, back to daily habits. These are kind of the habits that I want to do over the course of every week. So the way I do this is I have the header, because in the queries, what will show up is this will show up, and then the actual to-do will show up on that day on my daily task query that I showed at the beginning. So These, my things to process and writing inbox processing, I don't do every day because I'll spend like an hour, 2 hours on it when I do it. So I try to limit it to about 4 times a week. Process reading inboxes, something I do in the morning. It's like my morning newspaper. I'll go through Instapaper and my news feeds, my newsletters, and read a couple articles, highlight them, and that will get them into Readwise and then into Roam. Then I can do this things. They'll go into my things to process page, and then I can go and process them later when I have this. And then research topic. So you see here, I have this research topics as part of the Idea Factory. And so 2 days a week, instead of doing my things to process and writing inbox, I will do a research topic. And so that consists of picking a topic that's in progress or waiting, and either finding articles about it, reading articles that I saved that are linked to it in some way, or searching out articles and reading them, and just doing basic research tasks. And what comes from that is usually article notes. Then within those article notes, evergreens, project ideas, whatever else. So research topics kind of are the mother of most of the things that come out of what I read. And they also direct my reading. So it's just kind of I pick one topic and focus on that for an hour or so each on these days. And then these are daily habits that I try to do. I like to meditate if I can, exercise, read, practice Greek. So if you're learning a language, you can do something like this. I play bass very badly, so I'm trying to get better. So that's a daily practice topic for me. And then I update my public mind garden, the public database. I make a goal of doing that at least once a week. I generally do that a little more. So if I create an evergreen note, say when I'm processing my writing inbox, then I'll put that and everything that comes with it into the public database like that day, so I don't miss it. So this is useful for the daily queries that will show, okay, I want to make sure I meditate today. I want to make sure I exercise today. So when I go back to my daily page real quick, and open up my tasks, you can see, okay, I want to do this draft. I want my daily habits, process reading inboxes. Here's the checkbox for it. Read, here's the checkbox. It's all there for me. So I just have to look at this productivity dashboard, if you will, and see all the habits I want to work on, and I can just go through them, knock them out, get that little dopamine hit by checking them off. If I don't finish them, if I'm not going to do them that day, what I do is I use an archive tag. Thanks, Richard. Glad you're enjoying it. So I'll use this archive tag, and so that's filtered out in the queries. And you can see in the overdue task queries that I filter out archive tags. So when I do that, it just disappears. I don't want to mark it as having done it because I didn't. So let's click away, and it goes away. It won't show up in overdue tasks. It's done. I actually take classes weekly in Greek. So there's a place here in Boston, or technically in Cambridge, called the Greek Institute. And they provide classes in ancient modern Greek. They put on cultural events, concerts, and things like that. It's a really good nonprofit organization. And so I go to classes once a week. I have homework, and then I also use Memrise instead of Duolingo. So one of the teachers at the Greek Institute made a public Memrise deck for the first 2 textbooks that we use and all the vocabulary in them. So I use that, and then I also try to read things in Greek. So I follow a lot of Greek people on like Twitter and social media. That helps with like slang and understanding how people actually express themselves outside of textbooks. And so anything that can help me practice, I do all of it. Another technique that's really good is labeling things around your house in that language you're trying to learn. That's a really good technique. Watching videos on YouTube or reading children's books also help. Greek is tough because when you hear it, it's a very quickly spoken language. So it's really hard for beginners to keep up. And I grew up in a half Greek speaking household, and I hear it all the time. I listen to Greek music and all that, and it's still hard for me to keep up with. So for me, listening is also a big part of it. So yeah, that's how I practice it. And all of those things, my limit is, or my lower limit is at least 10 minutes. If you're doing some sort of practice as a habit, I definitely recommend, and I do this for my for bass as well. It's really easy to hit my lower bound with bass because it's just a lot of fun to practice. But give yourself a lower bound of time to actually do that habit. So me practicing Greek by looking at two flashcards isn't going to cut it. I'm not going to count that. I usually keep it at like 10 to 20 minutes a day at least as my lower bound. Originally 10 minutes. I'm making that go up a little bit now. Bass, I can sit and just do that all day, so that I have less a problem with that. But if it's something you need to help build that habit, I definitely recommend giving yourself a lower bound and sticking to that. And so you'll start, just getting to that lower bound, that 10 minutes or whatever of practice. Eventually that will get easy, and you'll want to bump that up and keep bumping that up till you get to a point where you're getting a lot of value from it. So that's another little technique I use. It's not explicitly in Roam. It's just it's become part of my process. But I definitely recommend setting that. And so that's the habit planning. It's all there in the template. So I don't have to think about the habits. I don't have to manually put that out. That's done for me. And this weekly plan template's available on my GitHub as well, github.com/Kyle Stratus. And that's free. And just edit it as, however you want, so that you have your own habits that you want to develop there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set these daily goals. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty straightforward. So the first thing I do is I do all my carryover tasks from the previous week that I didn't finish. I deleted that Advent of Code because that's on hiatus, but all the other stuff's going to come over. So first one is Article Roam as a platform for community. I'll go through and plan out which days of the week I want to work on that. That's one of my higher priority items this week because I think it's a really interesting idea. Excuse me. So I'll start with Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are all normal work days for me. So I try to limit myself to like one or two things. And if I get those things done that day, great. I relax the rest of the night. If I don't, well, then I'm going to be working until I'm ready to go to bed pretty much, which is fine because this is stuff I love to do. So we will start with, you can see the structure over here. I do a block ref to this. And what this does is I can very quickly look at all the days that I'm working on this. So I can expand this and say, okay, I have this on Monday. I have this linked. And so I don't have to go through the daily goals. If I'm looking at my weekly plan, I can just jump at this and see all the days that I've planned this. And so I want to do this and this because all these sections exist in the page itself for this article. I can just copy and paste these references or cut and paste rather, and just throw them in here. And so you see these nested to-dos. The way this works is some of these tasks will take multiple days. And so what I'll do, like especially drafting, that's going to take me multiple days because I'll work in small sections. So what I'll do is if I worked on the draft at all on this day but I didn't finish it, I still want to mark that done and say, acknowledge that I worked on it and was able to get something done, but not the full task. And that helps, for me at least, that helps keep me motivated and keep me going. So I'll check on the box that's directly linked to the day, but I won't check the internal one until the whole process is completely done. And that's the same thing for these subtasks. So these sections, cultivating the community laboratory, feature directions, request for feedback, that all happens under the draft in the page. So we can actually jump over to the page real quick. So you can see that this is a very large page because I've been working on this for a while. So this is my plan. Figure out how I want to title it, outline, all this stuff. Here's the draft. You can see the references. Excuse me. And so write these different sections. These jump to the outline, I believe. So let's jump. So I have this scratch pad, and these are transient notes and evergreens that inform this. And this is my outline. So if I go to intro motivation questions, that brings me to the outline. And from that's what I build my draft out of. And you can see these are all kind of different ideas that come from different locations. Some of these are evergreen notes like this one. Some of these are from the larger project of this, kind of just my ideation over time. So, and some of these are ideas from articles and just things I've written in my daily notes. So I pull from like everywhere, and that's really helpful to have to help kind of flesh these out. So you do a lot of the work before you even start writing, and so it's really easy to kind of piece everything together. And that's the whole like how to take smart notes, Zettel sort of thing. So we'll go through that. I have these publishing steps, Scratchpad, outline with all my notes, and then the draft is further down. So yeah, the draft is here. And so each header is also a link back to the outline, so I can very rapidly go back to that outline with all my notes and put that into the actual draft. So that's a little bit on the writing process and how that ties into my planning, and how you can see how these things are all kind of linked together by using block references. I can have immediate reference to this. So when I go to my, say Monday comes, I go to my dashboard, I can just click on this and I'm right where I need to be to start writing. And so removing all that friction to get to, like, I'm so scatterbrained sometimes. And as you can tell from probably these live sessions, I'm pretty scatterbrained. Without having to take the time to navigate to this actual section, it removes time where I could get distracted. So this is going back to that idea of guardrails to understand exactly, or to kind of harness your actual, I guess, personality, or the way you process things, and to kind of guide that and to sidestep kind of the fallibilities there. So this for me is really helpful because it takes away a chance for me to get distracted and start playing with something else. Okay, so that's that. Let's see if there's anything else for that. So we can remove this. And I actually want to hop back to it because I think I could probably, actually, what I'll do is I only want to finish the draft for this article this week. I don't think I'll have the capacity to do everything else. So what I'll do is I will split this up. And so maybe on Wednesday will be another good writing day for me. So and then I'll just copy this because that's referencing something in the actual page. And I will move this guy down here. This is another bug I encounter a lot with Roam, with the click and drop. There we go. Yeah, for some reason, I've had a lot of issues just dragging and dropping as well. I don't know if it's something to do with their back end or what. Okay, so, and this thing didn't paste properly, so let's fix that. There we go. Okay, so now Wednesday I'll write these two sections, which kind of will be the conclusion of this article or white paper. And that's all I'm going to focus on for this, so I can get some of these other tasks done. Let's do the Roam Idea Factory next. Open that in the new page. So this is kind of my generic plan. I do any research that's needed, generate keywords, create an outline, write a script, film it, edit, create a title, publish, promote. It's a pretty standard plan. I got a lot of this from actually working with Real Python for the past almost 3 years now. We have a very similar workflow for all of our articles, and it's a really effective one. So what I will do is Tuesday, because these are work days, I'm going to focus on just doing one article or one thing a day. On my off days, I can probably fit in like 2 or 3. So I will work on these 3 things are pretty low lift, except for the outline. So I can probably, I'm going to see if I can do all 3. By the way, Command-Shift-C or Control-Shift-C if you're on Windows will copy the block refs of every block that you have selected, which is very helpful. And then I add the outer to-do on each of these. This one I don't need to keep. And apologies again for the slowness. That's just the Roam that I have to deal with now. Okay, so I'll do any research, which will probably be reviewing the live stream and figuring out how I can condense that and keep that same information there, but make it, more focused for people who just want the how-to rather than this kind of meandering hangout style that I like to do with you guys with the live stream. It's just different things for different people. All my live streams will eventually, except for the evergreen notes, things like this, like the weekly planning, will turn into a video at some point. So if you're not into this format, that's fine. It's not for everyone. There'll be a video coming up. There'll be articles maybe. Some of the videos I do are because articles will end up being way too long. If I wrote an article for Roam Idea Factory, it'd end up being a book. So I might turn that into like an ebook, write an ebook or something for people like me who like to read more than even video. So yeah, so I want to, I do have some more space on my weekends, so I might write the script for the Roam Idea Factory on an off day. So maybe on Friday. The useful thing for me is also that my wife has a different work schedule than I do, so she has to work on New Year's Day, and then I can play with all my projects on New Year's Day. I have to do the traditional Greek sweetbread and find a coin for good luck. Okay, so I'm going to focus on writing the script because that will take me a while. The writing process is something I need to figure out some more guardrails for myself on because I get very easily distracted. Roam CMS and backend for site. Let's see where I want to fit this in. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are all spoken for. So I'm not going to add more to that just because I'm learning my limits on things. Great, Richard. That's great to hear. I'm glad you're enjoying this. Abe, yeah, I don't know what's the slowdown. This happens. This is my regular Roam usage is like this too. It's not the streaming. I don't know I don't think it's the theme either. If you have optimizations, it could probably help, but I've run into these problems with the vanilla CSS as well. I just think it has to do with the size of my graph, plus all of the block references and queries and stuff that I use, especially on pages like this. On newer pages, it's not as bad, but once I start adding a bunch of block refs, it slows things down. I think it might have to do with their current architecture, but I'm very likely wrong. So New Year's Eve, I'm hesitant to plan anything for New Year's Eve just because family time, that's something I'm trying to prioritize a little more. So New Year's Eve, our thing, me and my wife, we always get, Chinese food and watch the New Year celebrations, although that will be different this year, on TV, and kind of have a relaxing day. So I'm not going to schedule anything for Thursday. I'm going to keep that as a kind of recharge day. Just knowing myself and how I work, it's probably best to do that. And if I want to pick up something, I'll read. I have plenty of books I got for Christmas that are well worth reading. So Roam CMS back in for site. The nice thing here is that I do have some carryover. So I'm going to go back to my old weekly plan, and let's see, tech stack, and what is the other one? The UX flows. So any of you guys that do mind mapping or project management and are very visual like me, I definitely recommend checking out this Kinopio app. It was on Product Hunt, I think last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. And it's just a really nice, very aesthetic focused mapping tool. I really like it. It's very visual, and it's made by developers for developers. But there are a lot of great templates there to play with, and I really like it. It's much easier than a lot of the mapping tools I've used in the past, like Draw.io or anything like that. This is very, it's a lot simpler and quicker to use. And for me, having no friction is like the best thing ever. And that's why I love Roam so much, is that it reduces a lot of the friction. Let's see. These actually, I messed up. These, I don't want references to them. I want the actual thing. What's that? Okay, so I'm gonna delete this. And so now I've freed up my Sunday, so I'll probably focus on reading today and watching football. And so I think that's the most of what I want to do for the CMS and backend for the site. I think this might stretch out a little bit. So I'm not going to go deeper. What's higher priorities for me are the video and this article. So I still have Saturday and Sunday completely open. I want to do at least 2 things for each of these then. So let's open this back up, and we're almost done. So bear with me. Okay, let's see. Roam as, let's see what else I can get done here. Yeah, writing a headline, that's usually pretty easy. I have an idea here. That's probably what I'm going to use, either Digital Garden or Community Lab. I try to do a little bit of SEO research, but I don't like playing to it. Like I know what I'm writing about, and I want people to. I'm much more interested in having a clear communication of like what I'm writing about than to the communication to my reader, not communication to Google. So for better or for worse. So let's just drop this in on Saturday. Let's copy this block. This is the same block reference. So I'll drop that here. Sorry about that. Let's see. These are projects that are in line with it. Publishing steps. I'm gonna throw an Audible in here because there's a little more to do here. So what I'm gonna do is throw in something that's not on the page. This is definitely useful to do when you're like, oh wait, I need to plan out something a little more that didn't come up. And this is kind of back to being flexible with yourself. One thing I want to do, I bought a domain for this, so this is just kind of an exploratory thing. What do I want to do for roamlab.org? to, and so what I'll do here is I'll generate some things I want to do for creating the site around this concept that I'm introducing in my article. So before I publish this, I want to create the website. So that might be another project, or that might be just something I have 3 or 4 steps to do and throw up like a single page site that talks about this idea, because I think it's important enough that it will have its own site and be useful there. And the other thing is the video. So I want to make sure I prioritize that. I think the article I can spend all of my Saturday on, because I have that new open-ended task there for this look into what I want to do with this website that I bought. So for this one, filming and editing, let's get that block reference. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably use Sunday for filming and editing. I might be going too far with this. I may not. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see, because some of these, it can take a long time. It can be pretty short. I may not be able to get the script done on time, and then, that blows up the rest of the process, but that's okay. A big part of these processes that I have is kind of accepting that they will go wrong. They're just estimates, and that's fine. That's not something to beat yourself up over or worry about. And that's just that's kind of a psychological thing to be okay with, is that, you can make all the plans you want. They're going to not work out. You're not going to get everything done that you want to. And you have to be okay with that. And you have to give yourself kind of the grace to not reach all your goals, especially for me. So one of my, as a parting thought, one of the things that I've always found really important to my own personal philosophy is setting really lofty goals, and having the kind of psychological fortitude for being okay not reaching those goals. Because if you do reach those goals, great, you reach them. If you don't, if you got 50% of the way there, 70%, 80%, whatever, you still achieved a lot more than if you had more realistic goals. So I know for me, and maybe that's a thing for you to think about, is setting kind of lofty goals, even though I rein it in a little bit, but setting the goals for the week, setting your intentions and what you want to do, and then being okay with the fact, or the possibility, that you won't get everything done. And if you don't, you still got a lot done. You still got something done. And if you didn't get anything done, then you just tell yourself, well, I needed a relaxation week, because you probably did. And so giving yourself that grace is really important, because otherwise you're going to burn out and you'll get nothing done at all, and you won't reach any of your goals. So that's a parting thought for you to think about. Just kind of like a guiding light of my own personal philosophy. Thank you all for joining me as I planned out my week. I know I started out with a bunch of technical difficulties. I'll cut all that out in the recorded version so that nobody knows how bad I am at this. So thank you all for joining and for chatting with me. Really enjoyed it. Hopefully we'll get another one, another session like this, maybe for doing some evergreen notes, processing the writing inbox and all that, either next weekend or the weekend after, because I really enjoy doing this. I enjoy spending time with all of you. And I believe that is it. If there are any last minute questions, I'll go ahead and plug all of my stuff. So I recently revamped my newsletter. So I'm going into this idea of deep generalism. And so this is something that I've been kind of playing with as my own personal philosophy of how I approach my work and my intellectual curiosity, and kind of harness my ADHD brain. And I'm exploring that now in my newsletter. I've kind of switched it from a link dump sort of thing to a series of very short essays on this philosophy, and me trying to understand it by writing about it. And so you're kind of coming along the journey with me of how I'm figuring out how I approach life and work and things like that. And I can give you a little preview of my topic page for it. So you can subscribe to that at newsletter.kylestratus.com, or you can use a RSS reader and subscribe to it that way. I've been doing that a lot with InnoReader. it's really great. So you see, I have like books that kind of inform this, components. These are some of the upcoming topics that I am going to write about. And so check that out. Check out my Gumroad page. I have templates there. I have access to my public Roam database. My Readwise to Roam export templates are there for free. That's gumroad.com/Kyle Stratus. My Alfred workflows for my keyboard shortcuts are for the ones that have date math at least, so weekly planning, weekly review, all of that. That's Kyle. Sorry, that's at github.com/Kyle Stratus. My website, kylestratus.com. That's where my articles usually go. Keep an eye on roamlab.org for this article that I'm writing right now. That's going to be the home to kind of a white paper version of it, tools, suggested tools, and kind of the hub for everything to do with the Roam as a community laboratory. So keep an eye on there. There's nothing there yet, but keep an eye on that. Hopefully, you'll know next weekend if I get to my goals. If that site's up, you'll know I got that done. And I think that's all I have to plug. Thank you all for joining me. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments. Like the recorded video as soon as it gets put up by YouTube. And thank you all again. I really enjoyed it. This is a lot of fun, and I'll see you next time for another